Okay, this could be a long one. There's quite a few things I've done in the past few days. So last video was on 1.0.6, so let's go through the changes. Uh, so voxels, that's had a bit of an overhaul. So if I turn on wireframe, just so I can see what's going on. If I go to the topology menu and go to voxels, what you can do now is should be able to set the resolution here, and I'll get a preview on the mesh of kind of roughly what the target voxel res is going to be. So I can go down and say that one, and then when I hit convert mesh to voxels, that should be roughly the same. It's not exactly the same, but it's a reasonable indicator. So that's pretty good. There was a lot of just jiggery pokery to make sure that this kind of stays as it should. Whoops, I've got to fix up the wireframes. If you can just not use wireframe for now, thank you very much. But the rest of it is feeling pretty good. It's a little bit faster again. This is running on virtual desktop to the PC over there, so it's pretty zippy, I feel. This transparent stuff is because of the virtual desktop AR faked thing. So it just takes anything which is black and makes it transparent, which is actually pretty handy. There was stabilization. Yeah, just lots of little math stuff that was just kind of behaving strangely, and I just had to like keep playing with it until I could make it be stable. So it's now feeling pretty good. So if I were to convert that back into a mesh, it's pretty stable and it's working quite well. So that's all nice. So that was 0.61. 0.62, someone asked, could it do the right thing so that when I go file and save obj, it used to save it as a blah 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 dot obj dot txt. Now it saves it as a obj. So if I do that, and should see over here on my screen, you can see that's now saving as blah 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 dot obj. So that's handy. So I'll hit save on that. I'll just hit enter. Okay, so that's that one. Next thing, a quadremesher. So I was looking around, and I found, to my surprise, that someone had ported the instant meshes algorithm by Wenzel, Jacob, and Co. To Rust. Rust is very easy to port into WebAssembly, which is which is a kind of a web friendly tech. So if I go to topology now, and let's see if this works, and I'll just turn the wireframe because it's fun to see the wireframe. I go quadremesh, it'll think for a bit, and then hey, look at that! It's the same sort of not particularly awesome quadremesher that we get for free inside Nomad Sculpt, but not better than nothing. Better than nothing, I feel. And then there was a few other things. I'm just reading through. Do toggles for target faces. Yep. So you can change this around, obviously, to change the thing. Pressing states duplicate. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. So just lots of stuff to make it behave. Visuals. Yeah. So it automatically hides. So what this does is rather than change the mesh in place, it duplicates the mesh and leaves the old one around. So if you want to compare, you can do that. So that's handy. And yes, it's using a library called quadremesher. So it's a Rust port of instant meshes. That's still fairly new. I was surprised it's only a few weeks old. So I was quite lucky that it happened to be around when it was. So 1.64, I think, is where we started to get quite fiddly. So the usual kind of issue here with a lot of this stuff is that instant meshes, even in its default state, doesn't give you a lot of control. This Rust port, because it's so new, has even less control. So you don't get symmetry. You don't get sort of like, you don't get to draw curvature controls to make it behave. You're just kind of stuck with it. So if you want to get it in symmetry and do all that kind of jazz, you need to do a few other things. So one of the basic ones is that I had to be able to both convert this to triangles for the next thing I'll talk about, and to convert it back into quads. So I've got two buttons down here for that. So I can triangulate it, triangles, and then if I quadrangulate, this uses the algorithm that's mostly the same as the one inside Blender. It's not 100%. You can see it's still making some mistakes, but it does not a bad job, especially on something which is less silly. Now I'm going to try something crazy and try and undo by going by pushing left on my left thumbstick, and it should let me go back to where I was. You would not believe how hard that was to get to work stably, but it's working now, which is pretty handy. So yeah, so triangulate and quadrangulate are not too bad. So that was all that stuff. What this isn't saying here, and I should try and make sure that's clear, is that this was all in service of trying to get the manifold library by Emmett something or other. He is a former Google guy, now at Weta, who made his very amazing sort of topology manifold library. So I'm using it to do this. So if you want to do like a perfect split down the middle, you can do this, and it does this topologically, like precise mirror and split. The manifold library uses triangles only, so hence I would do this, and then I can go back into quads and get something that's not bad. It's not brilliant, but it's not bad. But then you go, oh man, it's almost kind of there, but if only I had tools to try and fix this up. That, I think, is what the next thing is. So I added, and by I mean Jetski added, some manual tools. So if I go back to the toolbox over here, we've got these things. So you can actually do a bit of sort of manual retopo work. So if I were to, say, find something that looks broken, and this is very dangerous because this is all a little unstable, I go, you know what, this looks a bit weird. So what I'm finding is if it's something obvious, like say this one here, and I just want to sort of collapse this edge, well, I can go collapse edge, and I can just go boop, and it collapses it down. So I can sort of wander around the mesh and do this very kind of soothing, just collapsing as I go, very sort of Bob Ross style thing. Collapse that one. But I added a few more things, which are as they look. So let's say with this guy here, quite often when things look a bit sort of flashy and strange like that, I'll run a smooth over it just to kind of see what's going on. And if it collapses like that, then I know it's pretty broken. So I'm going to undo back to where it was, and I'm going to delete that face. So small tool, and there you go. So you can see that was quite broken. I try and get it symmetrical like that, and then I can go fill hole. And if I tap near it, it'll try and fill it as best it can. So this has done a pretty rubbish job, but that's fine because I can go spin edge, and I can see if I can turn this around. I can't because this has more than 4 sides in it. So what I got to do is I have to split face. So this will find the most likely contender to split across, and we'll do that. But then what I want to do is I want to probably dissolve this edge, and then I want to collapse this edge. So I go collapse edge. So you can see I've got like a reasonable amount of toys, and then oftentimes it'll do this, but then I can go fill hole. So look, this isn't the best of ways to fix a quad mesh, but you can actually get stuff done. And not to, I love Nomad, I love everything it does. Let me do my poor Trump voice there, but occasionally it is sort of frustrating where it's almost doing the right thing, but it's not quite doing the right thing. And it would be useful if I could just, get it, just delete this one edge, or just, tidy up this one thing. So here you can see I've got this one like sort of kind of orphan vertex that shouldn't be there. So I can go dissolve vertex, and I can delete that away. There we are. So that's now feeling better. There's another one over here. Of course, what would be ideal is if I were to have a tool to actually identify all these things just in one hit and fix it. But that might be a while yet. So I'm just going to go with this one for now. But yeah, you can see that you can actually kind of run around and just, whoops, make sure you get the right thing. This is, I might have to do a bit of this just to see what's actually going on. Okay, I can see what's going on. So look, it is tiresome and it is boring, but it is doable. So I'm going to keep playing with this. I can think of already as I'm doing it, think, oh man, if I just had like an edge split or something, or a world. The world is not great, but I can spin edges, which is handy. So let's see if I want to show off the spin edge. Which one can I spin? Maybe this guy. Nope, this guy. Nope, this guy. That should spin. It's 4 sides. There we go. That's a spin. So if you're patient and have infinite time, you can absolutely kind of clean up this sort of rubbish thing. I mean, look, again, I'm always surprised that Instant Meshes loves to do these like sort of 45-degree things, which is really not great. But I was surprised at how easily I could ask Gemini Jetski, hey, wouldn't it be good if we had a function to do this? And it can generally one-shot a lot of these sort of basic mesh editing tools, which I found really surprising. So watch this space. Like I know everyone's working on sort of open source voxel modelers, but I'm I'm quite excited by the idea of doing like a proper low poly modeler tools on top of a sculpting tool. Caveats. I should point out that you have to be working on the lowest res cage. So if I go add sphere, you can see that this looks like it's a low res cage, but it's not. I mean, the default mesh is a multi-res, so you got to go down to the lowest level, delete the higher one, and then you can go and break faces to your heart's content. So I was quite pleased with this actually. It's another little thing. So I can go and delete a chunk of faces like that, and then if I fill a hole, it will. Whoops! It will. Yeah, it's making fun of me. It was trying to make a best guess as to how to patch that thing. I was doing a terrible job now. Well, you can ask for your money back because it was working before. Now it's broken. I'll fix that at some point. Anyway, so that's a lot of talk about that stuff. So just getting sort of undo to work properly was a bit of a pain, but it's all I think kind of sorted out. 6. So this is more little things. So the dissolve tool, making sure the fill tool didn't take until the heat death of the world. Some other little bits and pieces. The world. Because I'm now adding new tools, this was getting a bit crowded. So now it auto resizes to the available tools, which is nice. Which is the tool. Okay. So that's all that. And then we're up to 1.68 now. Good God, so many changes. Oh yeah, so someone pointed out that if you use the transform gizmo, it was really unstable. It is pretty good now, I think. So it's too big. I'll make sure to fix that or give an option for that. But the user was showing that if he scaled it down like this on one side and then went to rotate it, it would go crazy. Now that's behaving, which is nice. So I've tried to sort of like break this as much as I can, so I can go like that, and all the rotations are now pretty stable. Touch wood. If you have issues with it, please let me know, and I'll see what I can do. Let's go back to normal. Undo, 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 and undo. Cool. Back to normal tool. So that's that one. What else have we done? The synchronization fix. Oh yeah, that's more about the same thing. It was acting strangely. Making sure that it rotates the way you would expect it to rotate. That's all that. Okay, 169. Eyedropper. So if I do some painting, so I'm going to do some paint. So keep in mind this has got. Let me change to the matte cap. That's just white, so it's easy to see the colors. White. There we are. So we've got a pink. A pink, a yellow. We'll do a red. That, and I'll do a sort of desaturated green like that. Okay, fabulous. So if you use the eyedropper, so first of all, look, I've got a lovely nice eyedropper icon. Before it was looking quite broken. What we now have is this, that if you hover, it shows you the currently selected color, the color that you're hovering over across the top of the ring, shows you your selected color, selected foreground color in the lower left, and the background color in the lower right. So it means it's very easy to now sort of compare tones. So if I want to choose this color, I can tap it, and then I can now paint again. If I want to choose another color, I can get like sort of a slight variation by going into this mix zone. I can do that. I can change the colors around and pick another color. So let's go to say this is red. So now I've got a foreground and background. Actually, let's choose a better one. That's fine. Yeah, so it's just handy to be able to actually see things in context. The recording might make that too small to see, but it is there. It is working. I might make it a bit thicker just so it's easier to understand. The other thing I did was this was a little bit tricky to use before. So I had something like if you start sort of choosing in the middle and drag off to the side, it would try and sort of like hold within, so you could just like quickly sort of slam to the most saturated or white or black. But it would get confused where if you then sort of dragged the laser off the menu, it would stop selecting, but now it doesn't do that. I was also getting a bit confused with the color wheel in a similar style. Now you can sort of drag anywhere and it'll keep following. And it would also sometimes get confused if you were sort of in the middle zone. It would confuse the hits. One in every like sort of 50 clicks, it does still do the wrong thing. I haven't been able to solve why yet, but it's much better than it was, which is cool. So that's all that. Oh yeah, so that's just another obvious thing that when you're picking the color, it hides the radius indicator just so it doesn't get in the way. That's also quite handy. What else we got? iDriver icon, yep, fix that. So 1.0.70. Yes, there were some more issues with color space stuff. So 3GS seems to be linear color space internally. A lot of the old code from the sculptxr version was all assuming for it's all in sRGB. So I've just had to go through and kind of find all the bits where the colors weren't being converted properly and fix it. Yeah, there was another little issue with the wheel, which is fixed. So just if you kind of had a color and then you dragged off to the left or to the bottom, it would rightly assume that, well, actually now the color is a fully desaturated thing. So it would then say, well, I should just reset the hue to be 0, right? Which was annoying because that's not the case. So if I go to a blue and I slam off this way, it still stays on the blue, whereas before it would zip back around to where the hue degree was 0. So it would always jump back to red, which is dumb. That's the comparison ring that I showed before. 0.1.71. Yes, thumbstick scrolling. So someone asked that before. So now if I'm in a long menu, you can use the thumbsticks on either hand to move around. By default, I made it fast because I like it fast. If you hold down the other trigger, so if I hold down this trigger, it goes to 10%. So fast or slow. What else we got? There was just some debugging. 1.72. I think this is the latest one. Finally, here we are. So this was fun. Local storage. So by the time that I publish this video and you have a play, settings will be stored. So all these settings in here, if you kind of play with the left-handed mode, the wireframe bias and stuff, all these things, the last used radius and intensity for all the tools individually, the matte cap you choose, all these things should be stored so that when you refresh the app, it should load back up again. I didn't know about this stuff until I had to go look it up. So if I look at this very blurry thing, so in a browser, out of the way you, I've locked up my thing, that's fine. So over here, you can see under application and then local storage, and you got this thing here. So this is how browsers store information. So I store it into this JSON array. The more options I set, the longer this little JSON array gets. So this is stored like in a local folder on your machine or on your device. And when you reload the page, it'll load these settings back in. So that's how it's storing stuff. If you want to delete it, you can just go up to storage, local storage, and there's a button to go delete storage and then clear site data. So that's one thing. So this is for like simple settings. The other thing is this thing called the index database, IndexedDB. And you can store big things in here. So this local storage is just for settings. So it's like limited to 5 meg. This one, this IndexedDB, you can store whatever arbitrary data you want. I'm going to have to refresh because it's lost my controls and got confused. This is another WebXR bug. I have to poke people to see if I can get it fixed. So let's see if I can make this refresh. So I'm going to restart the page. So there's this irritating bug where if you just refresh the same page in place, it doesn't send the controller data back to the page or back to the app. And so because it can't fire the controllers, it can't load anything else, so it just dies. So I've got to make sure that I close the old tab, open a new one, and then it relaunches. Seems only for virtual desktop. I'm not sure why everything else is fine. Anyway, so the other thing I was saying, so let's go and load a thing. One sec. So if I go and load a thing in, so if I go load, I can't read, anyway, add. So I should from there. I didn't because I should do it from here. File, add, and I'm sure to have something locally. Let's see this guy open. So this horrible thing. Okay, so so what I can do, I can go and just apply the sphere. So here's my amazing sculpt. I can also, rather than save it into like disk, like it's a regular web browser download, I can go save to browser storage. What will happen is, if I sort of like line myself up to look at this thing like this and go save to browser storage, what it's done, you can almost see a hint of what's happened there, is it's taken a screenshot and it's saved it into that index.db location. So now when I go file and load from storage, bring up this little gallery and you get a little thumbnail and you can see it here. So just similar to how Nomad in the browser works and a few other tools around, this is local storage saved only on your machine, nowhere else. So I don't have any interest in trying to do like sort of, uploading storage. It's just this one. But this just means that rather than having to kind of get in and out of the desktop mode to load files, you can just do it all directly from in here, which is pretty handy. So I think that is all the changes. That was a lot of stuff. Have a play, as always. Hope you dig it. More stuff to come. Bye.